Brilliant. Thank you, Helen. All right. I would like to welcome panel. What I might do is I'll quickly let them introduce themselves. But we have Arthur, Anna-Lena, and Erik today, and Sophia as well. But thank you all for joining. What we might do is we'll, by way of introduction, how high, first, if you can introduce yourself, and then also just how high is sustainability on the agenda within your individual countries? And from your perspective, who's driving this conversation? I'm going to go with Sophia because you're the first one on my screen if you wanted to kick us off.
Good morning. Thanks, Andrew, and thank you for inviting us to the panel. So I'm Sophia. I'm the Director of Transformation here in IAB UK, and sustainability without doubt is on the agenda. It's high, and I think the results of the survey that you just talked about, State Readiness Survey, didn't surprise us here in terms of it being up there in the top 3 of the challenges that the industry was identifying with. So we're certainly talking to our members of all sizes and from all sides of the ad tech, publishers, media owners, agencies. Everybody is feeling it, everybody's talking about it, and I think there's a real hunger for information and knowledge. So some people are far on that journey and some people are less so, and I think that's where the kind of gap can exist and the fear can be created.
Excellent. And Arthur, from your perspective in France, how high is it resonating?
Hello, everyone. Good morning. So I'm the MD for Alliance Digitale, which is the fusion between IAB France and MMA. It's very high, exactly like in UK, and I imagine in other country. It has been driving, I must say, since quite a lot of time now, 2 years ago, when the French government decided that every industry should take care of sustainability. And now we have, since 1.5 years, many different laws about sustainability and advertising, and it pushed everybody, marketers from media agency to act and find some solutions. And we are working on that since more than 1.5 years now.
And Erik, from your perspective?
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Erik Häggblom. I run a specialized vendor operating from Spain, delivering precision audiences to reduce the amount of emissions on the distribution of campaigns. And I've been very active within the IAB in a working group that started about a year ago in IAB Spain, where the discussion was actually propelled by some of the advertisers, specifically within banking and within energy, but also some of the publishers and the media agencies. Of course, we've been working very hard over the last year in developing first set of recommendations out to the industry that we actually released on the 14th of this month. So I think, Andrew, that you were present virtually on that event, and that actually, tying back to something we spoke about, built out of the same model that AdNet's here proposed, in the sense of the 5 areas of recommendation. So there's a guide out here in the Spanish market, and it's been more of an industry-led movement. We have an extremely committed government to sustainability, but there is still no specific regulation touching advertising in the case of Spain. I think the first candidate will probably be around greenwashing out of the EU latest directive.
And Anna-Lena.
Hello, I'm Anna-Lena. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm representing BVDW today, which is basically IAB Germany. So we're aiming to bring advertisers, clients, agencies, tech providers, and publishers on one table in various labs. But we also recently founded the Sustainability and Digital Advertising Lab because we saw a high demand, and we recently did ask our members how high on the priority list sustainability is. And luckily, or it's good to say that it is a priority, but as Sophia already said, there is a lot of, or almost a lack of knowledge out there, or a hunger for knowledge, but also the progress in the different areas and different companies is so different. And we are really aiming to find a national solution, although we all know that we are working and operating internationally. And I think this is one of the biggest challenges as well.
Brilliant, absolutely. So it sounds like there's a lot going on across all of your different countries. So when it comes to focus, we've had a few comments in terms of education, and that what is the main focus from your own organizations and also the industry within your country that you're looking at in terms of priority, and kind of what progress has been made. Maybe Arthur, do you want to kick us off with that one?
Yes, so the priority here is definitely on carbon footprint. So I must explain first that in France, we've got lots of different trade bodies for media agency, for creative agency, for publishers. And so at Allianz Digitale, we're really focused on digital advertising. So all the different media or agency or all the trade bodies are focused on carbon footprint. And if we want to reduce the carbon footprint, the first thing we have to do is to measure the carbon footprints. And if we want to all measure the same thing, we need to organize ourselves. In 2 years now, all the different trade bodies start working on frameworks. So what counts in my framework, what I'm going to measure and how I'm going to measure and what kind of data I'm going to use to measure. So the TV did it, the radio did it, the press did it, and now we are doing it for digital advertising. So we've got already a framework, and so we take everybody around the table. So measurement company, because we have many measurement company around ad tech, publishers, and we decide with them that the framework we wanted to work on was everybody was agreed to use this framework. So that's done. So today everybody is using the same framework, and we had to work on the database, all the data we are going to use, especially in programmatic advertising, because programmatic advertising is the most consuming in energy. We are going to launch now this open database for all programmatic advertising. It does mean that all the measurement company or any company or media agency who want to measure, they can use the framework and the database and the open database linked with this framework. So this is our main focus right now, so measurement, and most on the supply side. I must say the supply side is more organized for now, and we are going to work on measurement, but with a buy-side view, because in our framework today, we didn't counterpart what happened. We stop at the publisher.
Excellent. Yeah, it's a very complex topic, no doubt. And as you said, you've been working on it for quite some time. How's, maybe Anna-Lena, you mentioned that there's a long way to go in terms of education in your market comparing it to Arthur's. Do you think that there's steps before you can get to measurement from an education, or what's the kind of focus there?
Yeah, I think the key point is to bring everyone on one table, because like I said, there are a lot of initiatives already, and we should not forget a lot of the agency groups, they are driven by their international developments. So they might have already regulations or frameworks or questionnaires in place. However, we haven't had the chance really in Germany to discuss and get on one table and say, okay, what is out of this international, in this international framework, what is our definition for the national market, and can we agree on standards? So we can only give a nod to France. They have already done great work on that. So we will definitely look how we can find a solution, maybe similar to that in Germany. However, I think what is really important to us is to not only focus on the CO2 measurement, but also to take the other 16 points into account. However, I think the good news is that they don't contradict each other. On the opposite, I think they support each other, because if you think of ad fraud, for example, which is still a big topic or a topic we need to address, if you can aim to reduce ad fraud, you would positively impact CO2 emissions, but also other like social standards or not financing ones that shouldn't be financed. So I think that's the good news. It's just, I think the hard work will be to really get together, but like France is an amazing example that it is possible. So we really focus on aiming for this in Germany.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Like it's one of those ones, as I mentioned in the presentation, we are obviously very focused, but when we talk about sustainability, first thing that comes to mind is is climate action and CO2 emissions, but it's important that we remember there are other factors to being sustainable as well at play, so we should need to consider them more. Erik, you mentioned obviously in Spain the release and launch of the guide. Is that the kind of main focus within the market? Are there more steps to come?
Absolutely. I think in our market, it is very much around building awareness at this time, but I'd like to make a distinction between sort of global advertisers that have made significant commitments to reducing their carbon footprints within a specific time frame, also incorporating scope 3 emissions, and also that being a EU directive in terms of reporting having to encompass scope 3 emissions as well on non-financial reports of companies. So global clients are quite eager to advance, but they want to know how to proceed. And when we're talking about measurement, of course, we all need to agree. So we want to avoid these cases where a large advertiser perhaps works with 2 media agencies and they're getting provided with 2 different sets of emission data. So that needs to be leveled. However, the climate emergencies, and I think we should also be careful about being immobilized, not move. You should trial and see what options are out there, specifically for all the companies in their own operations, because they need to start moving with some reduction elements to it. So global clients are eager, they should be testing, and local advertisers, on the other hand, if you think about the case of Spain, I think that a lot of them have not thought about the materiality of that advertising as a source of scope 3 emissions yet, right? It's not, as you mentioned before, it's not tangible to them. It's not something visible. It is around the awareness with them. So overall, we're focusing in on the awareness part. And then specifically, as we've set out 5 sets of recommendations, is how do we bring those to life? The working group has now become a formal commission. So the commission will now have its members, and we will start setting out the agenda on the specific actions we will take to back up. And it will probably be a similar set of things in terms of tool sets that are available and making information available to all the members.
Yeah, if I can respond to that, I think I totally agree, because it's so easy to get respect or daunted by the work we have ahead, and in terms of standards, like getting everyone together. But I think we shall not forget, and I think this is also one of the tasks we have, to make it very approachable. And I think this is also why CO2 emissions might be on the forefront, because it feels more approachable, and we already have ways to reduce CO2 emissions every day when doing a campaign. But I think it's about making that approach to everyone in the market and sharing that knowledge. What can I do today, even without a standard being in place or a framework being in place?
I'm going to third that, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
I think we're all quite aligned on, I think we've been talking here in the UK about good being better than perfect. Just crack on, let's get some stuff done, because we could spend a long time doing something for a year. And by the time, if we make the table so hard to climb onto, then it'll take those guys 6 months to get to that level. And then by that point, it'll all be obsolete. So we just need to be making good progress in the space. I think the thing that we kicked off with last year was back to the grassroots thing you spoke about earlier, Drew, which was a glossary of terms, because net neutral, net negative, everyone just getting confused with the different terminology. So just laying those out, because there will still be people within organizations who don't know the difference and maybe too afraid to ask, or don't have the time to ask, or should those issues are. Let's provide that sort of base layer and then build on that. So the thing we're talking with our market about at the moment is a lot of, certainly the agency groups we're talking to, when they're engaging with partners, that list of questions they send out around sustainability criteria to new prospective partners that then needs to be filled out, received, reviewed. All of this inefficiency of time, let's create maybe something that can be simple, standardized questions that don't prevent innovation and stop people being better within sustainability, but create a bit of a baseline. And then from there, we can start to maybe think about that standardization creep from there. I guess putting in the right table stakes to move us forward. Yeah, those are some of the things that we're looking at here.
Definitely. And what I find interesting, all of your points and this topic in general, is the accessibility in the sense of the topic of sustainability, right? It's much more relatable to a lot more people in the industry and wider society, whereas like if we're talking like deprecation of third-party cookies or fraud or anything like that, they can be very specific and sometimes technically focused, whereas sustainable practices, climate change is that bigger, broader topic that's not the creation of our own industry. rather it's got social implications and focus on it. So a lot more people, I think, are seeing, lean in, want to get involved, and are interested in how they can help out and engage and learn more. It's just about getting that consistency of information and making it available to everyone that you've all kind of highlighted as well. So I guess you'd work like those kind of focuses that we kind of run through, and it feels like there is a lot to do. But what would you say are the kind of the barriers and the big challenges that we're going to face over the next couple of 6-12 months that we need to overcome as an industry to progress the conversation and also the outputs from the sustainability efforts? Anna-Lena, did you want to kind of start us off with that one?
Yeah, I think initially I wanted to say on that topic that I'm thinking like the bringing everyone together and the standard was when I just with this conversation, I think, and also conversation I had last week on a conference was, I think the biggest challenge is often the mindset of the people that they think sustainability means I'm not allowed to do something, or my performance will be worse, or I will have to pay more. So the question was always who pays the bill for that. But when you saw, and then I saw an example of an agency who already did a sustainability campaign, looking at times of delivery, weight of the format, where they put the advertising, and it actually performed better because viewability rate were better. So I think probably the biggest challenge is the mindset of people thinking or equalizing sustainability with something where they are not allowed to do something, or performance being worse, or having to pay more for it. And I think this is something we definitely need to work on jointly.
Totally agree with. I think it's one of our biggest challenge. It's how we are going to show that we can be sustainable and reduce carbon footprint and be efficient, because our market, and especially programmatic advertising, is not always efficient. We have to be honest with that. And I think working on how we can reduce our impact should make us more efficient, how we handling programmatic advertising. And you said it and about ad fraud, for example, or poor inventory. It's true. And I think everybody must be aware of that the cost is going to be higher, price for the media will be higher. It's for the good thing. It's a very good thing. And now, as an industry, we have to show that it's not because it's higher that it's less efficient. And so we will have to do lots of different measurements. And again, the use of data is going to be very important.
I think I would even say, on the contrary, you get what you pay for. So I think it's, yes, you might have to pay a higher CPM, but look what you're getting. Your performance is better. You're not on some dodgy sites. Your viewability is better. So things we have said again and again in the past, but now there's even a bigger reason to look at this positively.
Absolutely. We see topics like attention and sustainability converging in the last week, which is logical, and I think is a good thing. Erik, your thoughts on the challenges?
I would agree 100% with what my colleagues have mentioned. I think there's a mindset element that is important. I think if you look at our industry, a lot of the people working within the industry are millennials. They have a very natural tendency to care about this. I think in the case of the UK, it was a very great case because the whole movement around media decarbonization started perhaps at the agencies, with the media planners getting together and then working with the IPA and so on to develop something larger. However, there's camps of people that there are still kind of climate deniers in a sense, or this element of tangibility is hard for them to grasp. So the data plays a role there. And I think we're evolving on that data story. You mentioned initially, I think the most sort of concrete example was the 5.4 tons of for an average sort of digital campaign, but we're looking at the distribution of the campaign, and we have to look at it from a life cycle perspective to have a robust way of measuring that also aligns well with benchmarking with other things and other industries. So the awareness bit is important to understand the depth and the scientific evidence that is available today to back up the concern. And having said that, the measurement, I still think it's a large challenge, because some of the advertisers are still waiting for that sort of, okay, you guys agree and we're concerned, we're going to move. At the same time, you're talking about some elements moving quicker than others in some parts of the regulation, but also the actual emission data is slowly but surely being attached into planning and buying consoles. So we'll start seeing emission data coming through also on a domain level. So that was my call out also for the industry members to get moving, because they might spot as a publisher their domain listed in a campaign report and may not have had the chance to actually start moving. But I think there's also an importance of actually getting order in place. And I think we've been talking about a lot of things, and I think we need to become more concrete. So that yes, there are emission data available for these to inform their calculators, for advertisers and to publishers as well to measure. This need to standardize and converge. But at the same time, with this emission being available, there's also reduction opportunities. So which are those companies and to whom do they cater for? So which companies can the publishers work with to actually reduce their operational footprint? Which are the companies that can help the media agencies with the distribution and reduction and so on. And I think that is another challenge of actually organizing and ordering, getting some order around that across the life cycle of a campaign.
Excellent. And Sophia, any thoughts on?
Yeah, I think I concur with most everything that's been said. And I think the other sort of thought that comes to mind when you talk about challenges, I suppose this industry is busy and moving fast, and it is yet another thing that we are having to deal with. If it's not cookieless, if it's not policy changes or fraud, there's always changes. GDPR, things are happening regularly. So I think getting people to be collaborative and focused and not allow for companies and individuals to think of it as a personal trophy, like no one wins, we all have to work together, encouraging that collaboration, that sharing of ideas. A lot of the work I've done has been in D&I with the IAB groups. And again, if people can share their best practice, what they did right, what they did wrong, it won't be exact, but if you can magpie off others and share those learnings, we'll get to a better place far more quickly. And I think that's pretty key here.
Excellent. So a lot to do, but positive steps, it feels like. By way of wrapping up the conversation, what we'll maybe do is just a really quick fire. What would you each like to see happen in the next 12 months in this kind of space? Sophia, I'll go back to you. You were last on that one.
Oh gosh, a genie moment. What do we want? I think Arthur and his team are going to crack measurement for us all, which is going to be one. I think having this collaboration is something that I want to and drive forward, because you only need to talk to enough people who are doing similar things to learn a lot, share a lot, and save yourself a lot of time. I think that's in collaboration, which is probably quite a broad statement. I think to shoot for the moon, the silver bullet, I don't know where we'll get to in the next 12 months. I'm sure a lot of things will happen, a lot of things will be good. But what I'm pleased to see, to the point that you just made, is you're seeing a lot more around optimization and effectiveness alongside the sustainability. So I hope that stigma that Anna talked about, we start to strip that away, that people start to realize the benefit, the importance, and the value of doing the right thing sustainably.
Excellent. And Arthur, is France going to crack the measurement for us? What are your thoughts?
Okay, I'm going to give you my dream.
Yeah, go.
And the next 12 months, what I really dream of is to have global measurement, run by media, tech, and media agency. We need something. It's like audience. When you are talking measurement, you need you need a reference, and we'd like to build this reference, at least here in France. But it would be great if we can build it and in the global way or at the European way to have this reference for the measurement. Because again, first of all, we can't reduce if we have no idea about what we are talking about. So measurement is really the first step. And the other thing is what we all want to avoid, and Sophia mentioned it, we want to avoid regulations. And we all know that us or any government can, at some point, strict regulation on advertising if they thought that advertising is not doing right. So my dream is to have this institution, or call it as you want.
Yeah, it's a good dream. I like that dream. Erik.
Yeah, I was just going back to this element of concreteness. I think we mentioned then that there's great work being done at individual market levels, driven by innovative companies. And I think those should mesh together, understanding their reduction role in their campaign life cycle. And that meshing, not just together between specialized vendors, but also with collaboration with the traditional sort of stakeholders. So I think there's local to global stuff that can be done, as well as global to local in terms of collaborations. So just to be concrete, there's carbon accounting firms that have specialized in helping publishers with their reduction work. Some of them have been founded in the UK, and those are today, I'm seeing them collaborate with local editorial publishers in Spain. So companies like 51 to Carbon Zero working with a large publisher in Spain called El Nacional. That's one case, right? Other cases, such as we're working on now with Tribaldata, partnerships with Sander and Programmatic, they are being committed now to reduce and actually trying to make more accessible the green media products that we initially started selling in Spain. So those are concrete things that companies can do now. So companies in Germany, in France, in the UK, and in the rest of Europe that are not presented or represented in our voices today could collaborate together, because at the end of the day, you can create a more complete solution for a campaign to reduce, right? And I think Anna-Lena gave a good example of such a being built. So that would be my recommendation.
Ooh, Andrew, I can't hear you, but I'm guessing I'm next. Yeah, always hard to be the last on that, because yeah, I'm sharing Arthur's dream. I agree with Sophia, and so true what Erik said. So I think especially the national global things. So I just, yeah, what I'm hoping personally in the next 12 months is that if anyone from Germany is watching this and hasn't signed up and is an active member of our Sustainable Digital Advertising Lab, please reach out to me. So we're just getting started. It's never too late to join us and to work actively on these things. And yeah, I think I really also hope with the IAB Europe and that we can find things that are approachable and really give a positive attitude to the topic.
Brilliant, excellent. Well, there you have it, everyone. A lot to do. Collaboration is key. We need to make sure we change the mindset that performance and sustainability can coexist. I think local to global and global to local, back vice versa. So with that, I'd really like to thank our panelists, Arthur, Sophia, Erik, and Anna-Lena, for your really insightful conversation. I'm sure we could talk for an hour or more longer. And with that, I'll hand back to Lauren and Helen.